Hello everyone, glad to have you back. Please watch this video if you haven't already. This is a direct update on that one and I assume you have seen that one. When you're done you can come back to this video. So, it has been quite some time since I last talked about this, but I think now is the time. Over the last few weeks I've spent a lot of time with custom machines and generally did some experimenting with them. Today I want to talk about a few smaller topics which are related to the main topic of finding the worst custom machine. The problem in my original approach, an idea how to find the worst machines, your suggestions, and finally everything we know so far. Let's not waste any more time and begin. When I first made that video I didn't know how deep it would actually go. I thought finding one bad machine that performs way worse than any other would be doable in an acceptable amount of time, but after I talked with Guy Perfect, we quickly established that there is not a single worst machine in the game. Yes, there may be some that perform like absolute garbage, but let's look at one of those bad machines and figure out where the problem is. The perfect example is, of course, the Air Emperor V2. We already talked about this one. I will mention it a lot in this video, by the way, but just for a moment, let's think about the positives. Are there any? Well, yes, it has a high top speed, can keep that speed very well, and it has quite a good booster. Those things combined can be quite useful if used in the right situations. Instead of trying to use the Air Emperor V2 on tracks like these, let's use it on one that plays to its advantage. Let's pick Split Over. And well, as you can clearly see, it performs rather well on there. Other courses which are pretty doable with the Air Emperor V2 are Trident or Long Pipe. Tracks without turns, or at least very wide ones. On tracks like those, the Air Emperor V2 will never be the worst custom machine. Why? Because it may be one of the best. I managed to easily beat some staff ghosts with the Air Emperor V2. Crazy, right? Now if we take a machine like the Funny Worm for example, we have no chance. It may be a lot more enjoyable to use in corners, but it is among the slowest machines in the game, so this one is probably one of the worst ones on those tracks. I think you may be able to see what the problem is. With 26 unique tracks, it is impossible to have a single machine that performs the absolute worst on every single one. Some tracks are easier with some and harder with others, so we can't really find one single bad machine. Technically, we have to find the worst custom machine for every single track, and for 15,000 combinations and 26 different tracks, that is gonna take a lot of time. Guy Perfect had the idea to make a leaderboard similar to the one on the F-Zero Central website, but only for times with custom machines. Everyone could submit their times on the selected course and add which machine they used. This would honestly be the best solution, but I don't think that is possible at the moment, so I think that will have to wait, at least for now. What I want to focus on in this video is just some more details and a few machines you suggested. We're not going to test every machine, that is just not possible. The F-Zero community is not very big and I'm just a tiny part of it with a few nice people watching my videos, so we can't really do such a task. But what we can do is theorize a little bit and think about the things that lie right in front of us. The parts. We know of many different machines which perform good enough to not be important for the search, so all of them can already be ruled out. Also, just a little reminder, neither those nor these stats really matter. I've explained it in the last video and have even shown an example of a machine with identical stats to the Air Emperor V2, but that machine just performs so much better. While some parts may be bad in general, their bad performance can be amplified when combined with other parts which also perform bad. Each part on its own has the potential to create an acceptable or even great machine if used correctly. The Air Emperor V2 remains a perfect example for this, so let's look at it once again. We know its body part, the big tyrant, is generally pretty bad, but when used with the right parts, it can result in a pretty okay machine. As an example, I built the round tyrant. Not a good machine by any means, but one that is usable. A bit too much sliding on max acceleration for my taste, but one that can be used on most tracks. Certainly not a bad machine considering it uses the big tyrant. With the aerial bullet, it was quite a bit harder to build an acceptable machine. Many machines I tried suffered from being really bad in turns, so they were pretty much the Air Emperor V2 with different parts. Pretty sure the Aeropolis is one part we will see among the most used parts for the worst performing machines. In the end, I settled on the Wild Bullet. It also doesn't perform well, but it can take corners well enough to be usable. Doubt you're ever gonna be able to beat anything except the lowest difficulty Grand Prix with it, but hey, it works. There isn't much that needs to be said about the Thunderbolt V2. I personally consider it to be one of the better parts you could use for your machine. I picked the completely random parts for this and came up with the Battle Grampus V2. And apart from having a fantastic name, it also performs quite well. Once again, it slides a bit too much for me, even on max speed, but it's alright. Could use better acceleration, but I think this is one machine that can be used to even beat Master Grand Prix, so it's fine. Pretty sure that some combinations just amplify the negatives of some parts to a degree that makes them barely usable on some tracks, like, well, you know. Now let me get to some of your suggestions. First we have Marco's Sonic Racer with a few machines. Let's look at them one by one. The Bloodshark RX performs better on tracks with wide turns or no turns at all. It isn't very good, but like others it can perform well on tracks like Spread Over or Trident, since it has good top speed and a strong booster. Could be better, could be worse, it's alright in the end. The Funny Worm is slow but handles pretty well. Surely this one isn't gonna perform very well on Spread Over, for example. Many machines are faster and have a stronger boost, so they will outperform the Funny Worm with ease. You also mentioned it's bad at snaking, and well, I think this speaks for itself. It really is slow when snaking, but I think it's easier if you don't consider things like that for now. The Muscle Cancer set is honestly alright. It starts to lose grip and boosting, so as soon as you reach lap 2 it is usable. Not good, but acceptable. The last machine you mentioned is the Omega Bruiser V2. It is the heaviest machine you could build, but I think it's pretty good actually. It takes some getting used to, but once you understand how it wants to take corners, it's fun to use, to be honest. Of course it performs well on Spread Over, Trident and Long Pipe, but it also performs above average on any other track that I tested, so this machine isn't one I was expecting to perform that well. Especially if you look at the stats, which look oddly familiar. Once again proof that these stats don't tell the whole story. Next up we have Custom R with another machine suggestion. The Heavy Bullet X. It looks to be similar to the Air Emperor V2, but there are two very noticeable differences. It's so much slower and has a much weaker booster. Yes, it handles a little bit better than the Air Emperor V2, so it can finish somewhat clean laps on some tracks on which the other machine struggles on, but with such a low top speed it really isn't going to set any records. On tracks like Spread Over it performs a little better, but once again the slow top speed is very limiting. Pretty sure this machine is one of the worst machines you could build. It's a little bit better than the Air Emperor V2 in my opinion, but that really doesn't say much. And we have one last suggestion by I'm the Victor, the Slash Coyote V2. It really isn't that bad, to be completely honest. Yes, it isn't a great machine either, but it surely is more usable than the Air Emperor V2. I recommend using it on max acceleration instead of max speed. It has a very low top speed, but is generally quite usable, and the strong booster makes up for it once you reach lap 2. One thing I also noticed is this. While on max acceleration, when you lean into a turn and steer into it, you gain quite a bit of speed. In theory, that would make this machine quite good at snaking, but it really doesn't work out that well. One of my favorite custom machines, the Tornado Condor V2, does the same thing, just a lot faster, and it's also amazing at snaking. Alright, so what do we know? Quite a bit more than the last time I talked about this topic. The main piece of information I wanted to share is the fact that we basically have to find a worst machine for each track. Technically, we could create a few different categories of tracks to sort them and make it a bit easier, but I'm not too sure about that yet. We know that, for example, machines that aren't able to take corners well are still able to perform quite well on straight tracks. There are a few tracks on which I haven't done enough testing yet to get a result because they are a bit more special than others. This one, for example, Intersection. A large portion of the track is inside a pipe where you don't need to steer. Speed is important here, but towards the end you leave the pipe and need to take turns to finish the race. Here I don't know what would be the worst machine. The Air Emperor V2 may struggle towards the end, but it would just take a huge lead over many of the slower machines inside the pipe portion, so I really don't know yet. This whole thing got so much more complicated. I am sure we will eventually find the worst machines for each track, but that is just going to take so much more time. I'll see what can be done to maybe make this whole process easier, and I will let you know next time I talk about this topic. I can't tell you when it is. Until then, feel free to suggest more machines. Maybe ones that perform bad on tracks like Trident or Intersection. I'd love to see what you could come up with. Anyway, there's a little update coming up, but it isn't directly related to F-Zero, so if you aren't interested, you can click away now. I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Bye. Alright, last time I said I once again have some updates regarding this channel, and I really don't want to waste too much time, so I'm going to be quick. In about 2 weeks, a small game you may have heard of will be released. Overwatch 2. As you can probably tell from my username on every other platform, I'm one of those crazy people who actually play Overwatch seriously. What I want to tell you is that I'm going to spend a lot more of my free time playing that instead of doing other things. Of course, I will keep up my 1 video a month schedule, and I will try to make them as good as possible. Just don't expect videos that are longer than 10 minutes. I want to keep it simple until at least January of next year. I have some videos planned already, and one big one that I'm working on all the time. I just wanted to let you know to set expectations for the next few uploads. I'll see you all next month. And now for real, bye.